Hey everyone, and welcome back to this special edition of Cannabis Capitol's Pop Politics. We're here on the trade show floor of G4 Live, and I'm really honored today to be able to share the stage with Mike Straumiatis,
AKA, also known as Big Mike.
AKA Big Mike.
Because, my last name is a mouthful, so all my friends call me Big Mike, and one day I was at a seminar, and they asked us to introduce ourselves, and I just figured, I don't know, I'm just going to try my nickname, right? And I did, and after the seminar, I had multiple people walk up to me, and they said, "You're the only name that we remembered." And I went, okay, there's something to that. It's a short, a mnemonic hook, right? So Big Mike it is.
All right, so everybody, Big Mike, and by the way, thanks for telling me I could call you Big Mike, because that means that we're now considered friends.
Great being here, Chris.
Hey, thank you so much. Hey, tell us a little bit. You founded and you're the CEO of Advanced Nutrients, which is one of the really big players in the cannabis cultivation space. Can you tell us a little bit about Advanced Nutrients before we get into this?
Advanced Nutrients, we manufacture the only complete cannabis growing system consisting of base nutrients and additives that optimize every stage of the plant's development through seed to senescence. We have a product that absolutely optimizes every stage of that plant's growth.
And does that also
it's not just fertilizer.
Right. And so when I ask the question, are you as involved in the hemp and the non-psychoactive side as you are in the cannabis?
Yes, we are.
Side?
Yeah, we acquired Tesoro Genetics, and they're big into hemp as well, and we have hemp fertilizers as well.
Is there a difference? I mean, I got to ask you because there's a clear political difference in the way that they're treated, right? Is there a difference, though, in the nutrient composition?
It's cannabis. The way we treat it, though, because the gestation time isn't that long for hemp. It's a lot shorter season. So there's a shift that cannabis goes through. We address that at the macro, secondary, and micro levels. But with hemp, we only address it with the macro and secondary levels, not at the micro levels, because it's such a short runway. But I will tell you this, iron is extremely important to cannabis growth. If the one micronutrient you need to get right, it's iron. It makes all the difference in the world.
Well, with that being said, and I know that you have also spent a lot of time on the political front, and that's kind of what the show's about.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in California right now. On the show, we discuss a lot the two topics. One is local access. The other one is tax reform. But I want to dig into tax reform because the cultivating community in California is suffering just under an onerous tax burden.
It is. It is suffering greatly, and I've talked to the Governor Newsom about this. Every chance I get, I'm going to be up there in Sacramento on the 24th of this month, and I will be talking with him as well. There's 4 different bills right now that are in California. I can't remember all the numbers, but most of them are Senate bills, and they basically all are doing the same thing, but at different percentage levels. Let's just call it that. One is all want to reduce the cultivation tax, but then they want to take the excise tax, and that's where they're starting to play around with it. One wants to add 1%, one wants to take it down a few percent, but the one I like the most is where they reduce it down to 5%. Look, this is the first year that I've seen the legal market overtake the black market. This is a year of change between the two, and right now the licensed producers market is much, much bigger than the black market. They reduce taxes now. It will help eliminate the black market. That's what's going to happen.
One of the things I've really struggled with is it's a flat tax in the cultivation side versus a percentage tax, right? So there's farmers right now who basically can't cover their cost of goods after paying the tax. Is that?
It's tough. And because the taxation is so just bad, that you have a lot of black market growers who have some of the best bud in the world, the best genetics, best knowledge. They're not coming into the space because they're seeing their friends that went the legal route and are being just put out of business. And that's not right either. Look, Gavin Newsom created the largest cannabis economy in the world. And right now it's falling apart because of taxation. We have the heaviest taxation of any state in the nation.
There's never been an agribusiness in California that was taxed at harvest, right?
There's none. That's a great point. There's not one agriculture business in America that's taxed. In fact, most of it is subsidized by the government, and we're just being literally put out of business because of taxes. And I explained to Governor Newsom, please only put like a 3% tax on in the beginning, and as the market evolves, raise it up. And now, lo and behold, they are going to lower the taxes. It's just which plan that they're going to use to do it. But now's the time of any time is right now, because the transition from the legal market to the black market, the legal market is winning at this point.
So do we have his ear as an industry? Because meaningfully, in 2016, when he was elected in the original gubernatorial election, he had been part of the Green Ribbon Commission. He had used cannabis, and he had said his legacy would be directly tied to the success of the cannabis industry. So do you think he has the wherewithal to actually accomplish something before the election this year? And I know, he survived the recall. So
hey, listen, I'm up there on the 24th, and I'm going to have personal time with him, and I'll be talking very seriously about that. But you're right, it is. And by the way, cannabis, the reason why cannabis isn't moving right now at a federal level is because the Republicans and the Democrats are playing basically soccer back and forth, because one of the groups wants to be the one to make cannabis legal to get all the votes. It's going to be a hot potato for 2024. 2025, 2026 is when you're going to see federal legalization of cannabis, but there's one caveat to that, and that would be the economy going to hell in a handbasket, which is doing right now, but even getting worse. In 2023, 2024, because of the fertilizer shortages, you are going to see inflation for food and energy go even higher. And because of that, the federal government may be forced to tax cannabis. And if they do, they're talking about a 5% tax rate on cannabis, which I think is fair, but you got to see the states lowering. Also, back to California, only 30% of the cities and counties allow for the cultivation or any kind of a cannabis business. I believe that tax money that's being collected in the state of California should only be going to those cities and municipalities and counties that allow cannabis. The rest of them should not be enjoying the money that's coming off of the tax.
One of the things we've discussed in the show a lot is the SEIU and many of the unions want to keep these child care programs that have been funded through the cannabis tax going. My belief is a rising tide will float all boats. If we can open the legal markets throughout the state, get these deserts, that they call them hot deserts, right?
Yeah.
Right? That we'd actually see a growth in overall tax revenue.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So from that perspective, let's dig into the topic. We were talking a little bit at the front end of this about banking and banking legislation.
It's a huge issue. And by the way, I was speaking to Michael Pompeo the other day, and he's a potential presidential running, going to run for president. And I asked him, I said, what is your viewpoint on cannabis? Because this guy could be president of the United States, right?
I think that would be an important question for you.
And you know what he said? He goes, my son has a cannabis business. I said, oh, so you're in the cannabis business with your son? He goes, no, it's all my son has it. But still, it's a family business, and he's open to that. And the first thing he said to me, what do you think about banking? And I said, yeah, that's the first issue. Before legalization, you guys can fight over that and play ping pong all day long. But the first thing, get the banking open, get it right. I have a full-time security team because it's a cash business. Not all of it, but some of it is dealing in cash. And there's a lot of horror stories that never even make the press in any shape or form of people that have been kidnapped, extorted, held at gunpoint because they know that these are cannabis operators, and they're getting ripped off. They're putting people's lives in jeopardy. And by the way, there's a lot of, you call it the suits, the new money guys that are in there. They have the same issue, and they don't want to go through that. They have to fix that.
And Mike, I got to tell you, one of the things that I tell people all the time, social equity. We all want to see social equity work.
Yes.
We all want to see entrepreneurs grow into the business culture that we know, the best practice, regulatory compliant business culture we're trying to develop. But they can't access banking at the rates a normal or traditional business can, right? So their interest rates are higher on any loans and financing they can get. The cost for actually having a bank account is so much higher than a traditional business. And the IRS doesn't allow you to write off a significant portion of your operating expenses.
It's a mixed bag of tricks. And by the way, landlords are charging 3 times as much per square foot as they would a normal client, and that's usury. And that's one of the things I'd like to see in California, usury law against landlords, that they can't charge 2 to 3 times the amount of what the going rate is. I've got people in our area where we have in Linwood, California, we're paying like $2.40 a square foot. The guy next door is paying 52 cents a square foot. That's not right.
And for me, one of the things that I've noticed, right, is that everyone's talking about descheduling, decriminalizing,
yes.
and I get that because I'm a firm believer in this plant being a God-given plant and it's changing lives, the medicinal front, even if it's the mental wellness and the recreational front, right? However, if they can do banking reform before that, if it's the only thing they can agree on, right, I would say that that's probably got to be a priority for our industry.
Yeah. The reason I agree, banking is number one, has to be taken care of. What are the things? Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. For me right now, okay, so there's so much we can talk about with California. It's the heart of the industry. It's where it first legalized in 1996, right?
Right.
And our climate there, they really can't do anything about banking at the state level, though. These are federally chartered institutions, right? And
Correct.
so for me, the battle is, okay, we've come to the point where states' rights is a big issue these days in the country, and they've given, the states the ability. We've seen, 37 out of the 50 are now in some form or another medicinal or recreational or both. So for me, right, like how can we galvanize gubernatorial leadership? How can Gavin Newsom, because one of the frustrating parts right now for me about federal legalization is being led by the Northeast. It's not being led by California. We find some of our senatorial people have actually been in opposition.
We need a very strong association that has extremely powerful lobbyist group. Because when you go in and you talk to a politician, and I go, hey, I'm Big Mike with Advanced Nutrients, I'm kind of standing alone. I go in there and go, hi, I'm Big Mike with Advanced Nutrients, and I represent such and such association, and we have 30,000 members or 40,000 members or 200,000 members. Now he has to listen. That's why in the state of California, labor runs the show, because they have so much firepower behind that, and that's organized power. We must have organized power. Sure, we have the California Cannabis Association. We belong to that, and I see some other associations trying to start here, but we need to galvanize together, put all our efforts and all our money into one association. And by the way, the dairy farmers of California said that they would back a cannabis association. So there's people who will come on board and will back us, and we will then have a very, very powerful voice, because at the end of the day, politicians need money to run those campaigns, and 42% of their time is done raising money for their campaigns.
So I always tell people, a cannabis consumer is also a cannabis voter. Right?
Yeah.
And we need to find a way to harness that energy, right? Not to, necessarily, but for these key issues to actually normalize and move forward progressively,
The biggest problem in all this is big ag and big pharma. Why? I've had private conversations with guys in pharma, and they have literally said to me, we got caught with our pants down and we're trying to buy time to catch up. And that is my belief. They're just buying time to catch up, and when that happens, it's going to be federally legal, and watch what happens to the global market. It is going to be absolutely huge. Within 25 years, this will be over $1 trillion industry when you start including the industrial use of hemp. Easily going to be over $1 trillion.
So one of the things on the program we talk a lot about is the term common ground, right?
Okay.
And how our industry and our culture and this cannabis movement needs to find common ground in our communities, because oftentimes we are the community. But you've actually founded an organization, a nonprofit organization that works in civic environments to help transform for the better. Can you tell us a little bit about your nonprofit entity?
It's Humanity Heroes. And our company is of the mindset, if you're successful, you should give back directly to the community in which you get your money and society as a whole. So how do we do this? Well, during the wildfires, we've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of advanced nutrients products, as well as not only that, but giving cash out as well. So cash and nutrients.
These are the farmers in Northern
California. These are farmers who
affected by wildfires. Lost their entire harvest for a year.
Yes, absolutely. And then we give back society as a whole down in Skid Row in Los Angeles and other parts of the world. We go in and we help folks who need it the most. And every year we have a huge backpack push during Christmas time, but we're down there all year. Amy Simpson was down there for Mother's Day because, there's moms down in Skid Row, and so we were giving away backpacks on Mother's Day and helping out the best that we could. And I want to say something. When we first started this 7 years ago, we went down there with I think 1,700 backpacks, and we covered everybody. Now, last year, we went with 7,000 backpacks, and we could have used 60,000. There's people with campers on the side of the road. It's not getting any better. It's getting worse. Now, to that being said, the state of California has put 90,000 homeless people into hotels that they purchased. They have spent a lot of money to do that. But yet, because the current state of the economy that we're in, it's getting worse and worse. So
right,
the need is the most and the greatest has ever been.
Unforeseen disruption.
Yeah,
it is a term that they use.
Black swan
in the institutional
moment. Yeah,
right. Like
yeah.
So, when you had first the COVID and then the reemergence of it, and of course China, and then secondly this conflict in Ukraine, right, which is a war on Ukraine. But
yes.
At the end of the day, these two disruptions have changed the global landscape underneath our feet, almost, right?
And it's challenging.
Right. And because I know that you talked about the global marketplace, the European Union is starting to open up to medicinal cannabis, right?
It is.
And the use of Germany and Spain.
Well,
and
I'll tell
England.
you, biggest places, Portugal and North Macedonia. Portugal has GMP facilities, and so does North Macedonia. And they're going to get the go-ahead very quickly from Germany, and they're going to start flooding that German market. Germany is very, very close to legalization. And when that happens, it is a game changer for all of Europe, and also a strong signal to the U.S. Also, we had ex-President Vicente Fox was here, and he's pushing very, very hard for cannabis legalization, and it's going to happen this year. He made a promise here
in Mexico.
Right, in Mexico.
And by the way, the largest nationalized market in the world,
yes.
if it does go through, right?
Right. And think about it. So now we have Canada where it's legal, we have Mexico where it's legal, and where's the U.S. in all the mix, and NAFTA and all that. So they're going to have to make a decision very, very quickly here and go with the flow. And the global landscape of cannabis will literally change overnight, and you're going to see the really big companies come in. They're all sitting at the sitting on the sidelines, so to speak, and they're waiting to come in when it's federally legal. Doesn't mean they haven't been doing research. Bayer has been backing GW Pharmaceutical with billions of dollars for the last probably, I can recall, 25 years.
So what I would say to people too, when they talk about corporatization as a fearful thing, you have craft beer, and then you have Budweiser. You have an artisan craftsmanship, and I'm certain in Advanced Nutrients, you deal with some really high level, high like.
There's guys using Advanced Nutrients who are black market, getting $6,000 a pound. I know another guy. I'm not going to $4,500. A whole bunch of them are getting $3,000 plus,
and they have genetics, and they tend to really. So I tell people, don't fear it, right? And I think the pharmaceutical dialogue, the concentration of the properties of the plants, and showing the reciprocal. But here's one of the things I'd ask you. This is for me personally. So as you're meeting with Governor Newsom, I hope you remember me asking. We need gubernatorial leadership throughout the country in these states that have legalization to make a collective push in Washington D.C. for banking. I think it's going to change the life of minorities that we're trying to help. I think it's going to change the social equity dialogue. I think it's going to help the entrepreneur, and I think, to your point, on the real estate level, it's going to change the reality of how people access capital to purchase and finance real estate, and that's the game changer. I know that legalization, deschedulization, all these things I think are humanitarian topics, but will you please do me a favor and put that in the primary element
I will. And the American farmer growing hemp, this is going to be our largest cash crop in America. It's going to surpass corn. There's so many things that you can do with hemp, as we all know here. But you start thinking about protein use. The USDA just approved hemp seed for chicken feed. Okay, so there's all industrial uses of it. They make car parts already out of hemp. BMW's been doing it. Mercedes, by the way, Lamborghini and Bugatti also, and Lotus use dashboards and door panels that are plastic and hemp. They will not talk about it, but they've been doing it for the last decade.
And by the way, textiles and insulation. Yes. I've been told that the stock of the plant, and that's one of the things, everybody. They say that money grows on trees in our industry. The truth is it's a hard industry. It's an agribusiness. We actually touch the earth in the same way that's always been done. We're across the spectrum regulated more heavily. So a change in the banking policy with not a revolt, but a common ground leadership shown by the gubernatorial leaders throughout these states that are saying, listen, California has its market, Colorado has its market, but we need banking to safely operate best practice regulatory compliant businesses in our states, I think would be huge. So, hey, everybody, G4 Live, Big Mike, Advanced Nutrients. I just want to say thank you, sir, for joining us, and thank you for joining us before you speak with the governor this month.
I will. I thank you, Chris, for having me on your show today. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.